Hi, it's me again. Bringing you along, I'm going to redecorate the bedroom. I have things torn apart. I have things that need to be replaced. I'm going to move the bed over here to the window. I have to reorganize everything. I'm starting to take one room at a time. I have my little Pivo device that will follow me around. So I thought I'd just kind of give you a lowdown on today, on Saturday, November 1st, All Saints Day. And any of us Catholic grown kids know that after Halloween, you always have the next day off from a Catholic school. Found myself singing some Christmas tunes this morning. And TikTok, I follow the Frank Sinatra page. He's been all over my For You page this morning singing, oh, by gosh, by golly. I have the dogs running around. I don't really know where to start in this place. You know, the one thing about using this Pivo thing, it puts on like 20 pounds on you. I promise you, I'm not this big. If big would be the proper term. Just being really, really kind of silly right now. I got a dog behind me trying to destroy the pillows because that's what she does. I got the other one, Hankopotamus, right here with me. She's sitting on a chair trying to figure out, there she is, trying to figure out, that's my grandma's doll that I inherited. Let's see what the dogs see. They're back there. But I thought I'd bring you along this morning because, you know, I ain't got a lot going on. Not ready to put up the Christmas tree yet. I've got to get through Thanksgiving. Ran over to, where'd I go this morning? Ross. Bought some rugs. Hello, Loli. Hi, Loli. Loli. Hank, what are you doing? Leave the cat alone. Went over to Ross and bought some throw rugs for the kitchen. Can't decide if I want to pull that rug out from underneath the kitchen table. Why are you on my dresser? Or what I'm doing, looking for a rug for the living room. Just trying to redecorate the house right now because when my mind is a mess, if I redecorate, kind of helps declutter the noise that's going on in here. I'm Kitryn Marie, reside in St. Louis, Missouri, artist, writer, speaker, life and business coach. Teach a variety of art classes, personal development classes, published author. I want to see Hank. I want to see my Hank girl. Where is she? There's my Hankopotamus. Hi, Boozy girl. How's a Boozy girl? Hi, Booze. That's my Boozy. She's my girl. Oh, and here comes Nell. Anyway, as I was saying, or as I was going to tell the story, I ran into a very, very old friend. Hi, Nell. Hi, Nellie girl. Nellie. Ran into a very old friend at the dollar store today. It's always nice when you run into people from 30, 40 years ago when you're trying to catch up in 10 minutes. As you know, I'm walking out the door and he's walking in the door. Hi, how are you? How's the family? You know, what's new? Do you see anybody? Did you hear about so-and-so dying? Did you hear about so-and-so getting sick? Because we are all at that point in life right now where, you know, anything can happen. But it was nice running into him. It was nice seeing how life had worked for him. I got all the dogs here. Where's Frances? She's the only one that's not in here. What was I getting at? Oh, I say to this person, I go, so do you go out anymore? What do? You know, are you doing anything for fun? Because unless you have a group of friends, hold on, pick up a pillow here off the ground. Unless you have a group of friends that you have been friends with forever and ever, everybody kind of falls off. And he said, no, he just works, and then he goes home. He goes, you know, there's nothing wrong with living a quiet life. Ding, 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 red flag in my book, because I am not willing or ready to lay on the couch, worry about what I'm going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, get fat, and then die. Now, you can take that any way that you want, but there is still so much life to live. And while I have the ability to live that kind of life, what are you doing? Do not go over there. Oh my goodness. I don't know what she thinks she's seeing, but it's like a bull in a china shop. Anyway, if you are not willing to still participate in life, you cannot just let yourself die. You cannot let yourself do nothing, because a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. And when you get to be in your later 50s, 60s, and so I just heard once a human gets to be 75 years old, they fall off the cliff. And although my pact with God is to live to be 116, in order to do that, now I hear them into something else in the other room. In order to do that, you have to keep going. You just cannot do your job during the week till you are ready to retire and then give up and die. Briefly going to tell another little story because it's been on my mind. Algorithms. What algorithm is picking up by stories? And as a content creator, I will look to see what the views are, and if the video that I've put up is not getting a lot of views, within about $48, I'll pull it down. And I'm trying to change all matters right now to see exactly what it is that the algorithms is wanting to see and do. And when you are storytelling, which I will do about retirement and dying, you have to be able to connect with the right people, your right community, your people who are looking for inspiration, wanting to be entertained, wanting to see how other people live. Sometimes people are just nosy because they have no life for themselves, and they truly want to live vicariously through you. So as I was talking to this person who was my friend from a very long time ago, and, he's talking about being quiet and living a quiet life, and I'm like, I just want somebody who will match my energy, who still wants to achieve things in life, who wants to move, who wants to experience adventure, who wants to be in a good mood all the time, who wants to take care of their health, who wants to stay active. And that is hard to find. It is very difficult to find. So I'm going to tell this little story about my dad. My dad was a truck driver most of his life. Was a Teamster. You worked, had a union. My dad was larger than life, so I thought as a little girl. And my dad had some demons, so on and so forth. But we all have demons, and we all have to face our demons at some point in time. After Mom died, it was hard. It was hard on all of us. And Dad, being her husband, his addictions and so on and so forth, his mental health declined. And it was many, many years later when he was faced with a reality of he needed to get his life together before it was too late. I moved in with my dad my senior year in high school. I had 2 poodles at the time. I always had multiple pets. And I said, when I graduate high school, I'm going to move in with you, Dad. And he was like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm bringing the dogs with me. And he was like, no, you're not. And it was a back and forth for a few months before I graduated. And finally, he knew there was no other way around but to let me power through moving in with him. I wanted to be with my dad. And my grandma and grandpa did a fabulous job taking care of me and my sister and everybody else in that commune household the best that they knew how with what they had to work with, dealing with their own emotional baggage. So on and so forth. I move in with Dad, lock, stock, barrel. And then I stayed with Dad till I got married in '83. Dad was working a variety of different shifts. Was a truck driver, like I said, all his life. And then when it got to be too hard on his body, he became a spotter. Being a spotter, they bring the tractor trailers into the yard, and then somebody drives it to where it needs to go. You unhook the pup from the tractor, and then you put the tractor, the part that you drive, in a certain spot. That was my dad's job, and he loved that job. Paid the same, being a union truck driver, and he bounced. He worked, beginning with AG, Dr. Pepper, AG, Roadway, Yellow Freight, ABF. You seeing this? Lola, what are you doing? And that was his job, but he so looked forward to retiring. At that time, you could retire at 59. Now, my age, you have to be 67 to retire, and I'll be 65 in July, which I still have a hard time saying that, 65. That doesn't seem right. I should still be 30. But anyway, Dad had looked forward to retiring. Dad was a heavy drinker most of his life, heavy smoker. And he knew he was retiring. He knew he was going to turn 59. Then he was going to retire. He was going to take all of us. I was still married at the time. I had my older 2 kids, my sister. He was going to take us on this big hurrah trip because he was retiring. And my dad was all about his money, about his investments, and when you live a very empty life, money is the only thing that you seem to be concerned about. And he provided the best that he knew how with his demons and so on and so forth. And when my dad wanted to give, my dad was generous to a fault. When he did not want to give, he made Ebenezer Scrooge look good. So here we go on this, getting ready to go on this big trip. And my dad had started to get sick. Not feeling good, and started losing weight. And he thought he had pulled some muscles from doing his job, being a spotter, because it's strenuous. You still have to unhook the pup from the tractor, and it's a vigorous, very physical type job. And my dad had quit drinking the year I graduated from high school, because that was one thing he said. He did not want me to see him in the shape that he had lived most of his life, although we pretty much knew how he had lived his life. And for any child who has seen an alcoholic parent, it creates anxiety, drama, trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, abandonment issues, so on and so forth. And you try to cope the best you do, walking on eggshells, making sure, that you're not the one when the shoe drops, that, you get the brunt of it all. So, Dad is getting ready to retire, gets sick January. By May, Dad's birthday was July, going to be 59. By May, Dad is diagnosed with liver cancer. And I was devastated, absolutely devastated. And by that time, I had already been in my marriage 10 years, had the 2 kids, and I wasn't real happy in my marriage. I mean, it was kind of a given. I was going to college the first time then, and I had opted to leave my husband, take my still 2 poodle dogs and my kids and move in with my dad, because I needed to be there. I needed to have the hands-on. I needed to see what was going on, and in order to keep my emotions in control, I needed to be the one to have my hand in making sure my dad was okay. So, Dad gets sick January, gets diagnosed May, turns 59 July. We go on a huge trip the last week in August. Went to Disney World in Florida, drove. And we get home, and Dad dies 2 weeks later. Now, and that's a whole other story at some point I will get to. And that's a hard story, the day the days leading up to Dad dying, because anybody who is a caregiver who knows death is imminent and you emotionally brace yourself, whole other story for another time. So Dad dies, and I'm playing in my head, okay, this was not the way that life was supposed to be, but is life the way that any of us think it's supposed to be? Sick, diagnosed, turns an age, retires, and dies. So when you hear me say there is so much more of life to live, and if you just think working your 9 to 5, putting all that money in the bank or in the stock market or investing in whatever, and then you worrying about what you're going to eat for breakfast, for lunch, or for dinner, and that is the only excitement that you have in your life because it's all you want to do is lay your happy ass on the couch, you are inviting death to come in to your life. And I do not want to do that. I refuse to do that. We're not going to live forever. Although 116, I told you that's my pact with God. We are not going to live forever. But while you are still here and while you have the opportunity to live life and to have these experiences and to have these adventures and to find someone who matches your energy, because it is really, really hard the older you get and you are single and you are still trying to do all these things. It's an all or a nothing. And I've seen this with other people my age. Women want to go and they want to do. I'm not a TV person. I don't want to lay on the couch and watch TV. I just don't. My downtime is I just want to be quiet. I'll scroll through my phone for hours. I will cook. I will bake as I feel necessary, but not because my life is dependent on being attached in that kitchen. I don't live for a meal, and I eat when I'm hungry. I don't wake up in the morning wondering, what's there to eat? What can I have? What can I shove in my mouth and digest that is going to make me unhealthy? So here it is, Saturday. I'm trying to find things to do to, let my mind kind of settle through. There are changes that are coming at my job that I am waiting to hear what is going to happen. I am trying to, reboot all of my art classes, my personal development classes, and I'm trying to maintain my home, staying active, keeping the house clean, keeping closets organized, going through drawers and throwing things away. I want to take that trip. I got to get the car fixed. I am being very proactive in which activities that I want to participate in because I do not want to lay on the couch knowing that death at some point will be at my door. So as I was talking to my friend this morning, the way that my mind works, I'm like, no, it's not good just to do nothing. In order to remain healthy, you need to stay active. There's a difference between resting, and there is a difference between being depressed and giving up. And those are things that I do talk about in my life coaching class when we're putting the vision board together. How active are you? What is your lifestyle? And is it healthy? How do you keep your home? Because your home is a reflection of who you are. I will flip-flop furniture. I will rehang curtains. I will paint walls because I know that's an extension of me. Cleanliness, being organized. In the event anybody comes to my house, that impression is not only important to me because it's home, but it's important for those who do come here to see that I am a part of my home and my home is a part of me. But in the other side of that is the activities that I like to live in my life, with my life, so I can remain functioning. So the aches and the pains lessen a little bit because I know somewhere there's joy on the other side of resting. I know that there is a new adventure to be waiting for me to have. But what about you? What is your plan? And what is the story that you have with any of your parents if you have been a caregiver? And how are you transposing that into your life as you are working and you're coming home and you were so mentally exhausted by life and you were refusing to participate in all the wonderful good things that are still available to you? But I'm Kitryn Marie, an artist, writer, speaker, life and a business coach, teach a variety of art classes, personal development classes, going to completely tear this room apart today. It is an absolute disaster. Got to get it organized, got to get it cleaned. Cleanliness is next to godliness. But I want to hear your story. You know, be happy, be blessed, be thankful for everything. Remember, fate turns on a dime, and it is up to you to decide what side of the coin you want to be on. Reach out, kitrynmarie@gmail.com. Have a great day. Clean something. Take something apart, organize, and then plan that trip. Get off the couch and stay active. Take care, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.